Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get started here in just a couple of moments. We're just giving everyone a last minute to get in and join us. If you have any questions or topics you want to make sure that we cover, please submit those through the chat and Q&A functions. We'll make sure that we get to all of your questions when we loop back around to a Q&A portion at the end. So if things come up, just submit it as you're thinking of the topic. But for the most part, we're going to be talking about those program-specific details, talking about Tulane SOPA, and then all of those logistical pieces. So if you'll just give us another moment or two, we'll get started. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with our introductions and go over our agenda. So today we're going to be talking about the history of Tulane SOPA, what our program offerings are, a little bit about what our mission is here at Tulane SOPA, and then how we support student success, how to actually apply to the programs, and then tuition and financial aid. At the end, we'll have a Q&A portion. And in the middle of all of that, we'll be discussing all those specific program details and going over some of the unique features of our program. So I'm joined today by Dr. Mike Wallace and Dr. Nina Cleveland. If you could both introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Wallace. Like Chris was saying, I'm a retired military intelligence officer, spent 20 years in the Navy. Since then, I was on the Joint Staff up in DC at the Pentagon, and since 2014, I've been here at Tulane. This is a dream job. I get to share my experiences and train the next generation of Homeland Security and emergency management professionals. So look forward to talking with you during this next 30 to 40 minutes.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please go ahead, Nina. I was about to cue you up.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Nina Cleveland. I'm originally from Georgia. I came from the University of Georgia. My practice background is public health emergency management. I worked in local district level emergency preparedness and response in Georgia, and then I worked as a contractor with CDC before I came into academia. Before that, I was a practitioner in mental health and nursing.
Thank you, Nina. And so to introduce myself, my name is Chris Lloyd. I'm an admissions associate here at Tulane SOPA. I primarily work with our students who are applying and are evaluating program options. So when you're actually going through the application and review process, or when you're trying to learn more about the programs, I'm the person that you're primarily going to be interacting with. And I also work with a lot of our students once you get into the program. So I'm a face that you'll be seeing along the way. And through this webinar, I'll act as our mediator, where I'll kind of guide us through this topic. So to start with, I want to talk a little bit about the history of Tulane SOPA. So for those of you that are from the New Orleans region or joining us elsewhere in the US, you're probably familiar with Tulane University, and you know that we have a long history of providing high quality education. And that started in 1834 as the Medical College of Louisiana. From there, we've had some pretty significant changes where Tulane SOPA first started offering classes as a continuing education program in 1886. So just based on that history, we would be one of the older universities in the United States if we operated as an independent university. So that's over 130 years of commitment to high quality education that you have. For those of you from the area, you might have known us as University College or Continuing Studies. When we were initially founded, we were founded as an outreach division of Tulane, where we were meant to offer education to people within the community. So it was a way for people to kind of gain that professional skills or professional development and get access to a high quality education without having to go into a major university system and pay that same price tag. So we rebranded to Tulane SOPA in 2017 with a relaunch where we became the School of Professional Advancement. And that was in part to better reflect our focus on helping adults. And by helping adults, I mean accessing knowledge, credentials, and helping you to build your professional network so that your professional success can have a little bit more of that footing there that'll help you to where you've got that community that you can rely on for either the networking elements, but then you also have those credentials, those degree programs that are setting you up for success. The majority of our programs have been tailored to where we're working with people within the community or within an industry at large, to where our students are going in, taking coursework or learning skills that actually reflect what's needed in the industry. So we've worked with GNO as well as other organizations to help to tailor those offerings. Right now, we offer 8 distinct programs of study. So at the bachelor's level, you've got 9 different programs, and that may grow during your time at SOPA. The degree programs for bachelors are not online only yet. You'll still have to take some of those on-the-ground courses, but for those of you that might have transfer credits or are coming in where you've got the ability to do some of that coursework in person, you can still set it up to where you'll be able to take online courses. And then the vast majority of our courses are going to be offered online. So once you hit that master's level, that's where you have access to fully online programming. So you can either go with that online component if you're someone outside of New Orleans, or where you're a working adult and you want to be able to have some flexibility in how your instruction is delivered, or you can do that on-campus piece if you're more that tactile learner and you want that classroom experience. Or you can even do that combo where you take a little bit of each and see what works best for you. With a lot of our students being either working adults or people who work in a professional capacity and need to have some control over their delivery instruction, that's to where, or their instruction delivery, that's where that combo can really work for you. So, if you have that Saturday off and you want to take courses, you could drop in for a Saturday course that typically runs about 12 p.m. until 2:50, or you could do an evening course where a typical evening course will be a Wednesday or Monday, some weeknight where you're going from 6 p.m. until 8:50 p.m. And that's your one class meeting that week, and where you might have that online component built in as an additional way to interact with the classroom. So maybe discussion boards or doing readings and doing some of that interaction with your classmates on there. So those day, night, and weekend classes are really a great way for you to be able to take on the classwork at your own pacing and in a method that's going to work best for you. So moving on to talk about our degree programs, I think Mike and Nina are going to be the best people to go over this. Mike, could you share a little bit with us about the bachelor's level and master's programs as well as certificates?
Sure. Thanks, Chris. So we have both bachelor's and master's degrees here at Tulane, as well as certificate programs. Our oldest degree is the Bachelor's in Homeland Security Studies. It's been around since 2006. Ironically, it was supposed to start in 2005, but a little thing called Katrina delayed it a year. In 2009, we started the Homeland Security Master's degree, which has grown both in reputation and popularity. And this year, we added 2 new degrees, graduate degrees, one in security studies and the second in emergency management. So these were a result of discussions we had with stakeholders in the fields. So we actually go out and talk to people in private industry, in public service, and ask them what needs do you need addressed, and with these needs, what do you need students or graduates to know when they come out of these programs. So, for example, the emergency management, we talked very closely with a number of emergency managers, both here locally and also outside this area. We're lucky enough to have some graduates that work for the New Jersey Emergency Management, New York Emergency Management, and also in Washington State. And then also we've been very lucky in making connections with corporate partners, including Shell Oil, who's been very supportive of developing our curriculum to answer needs that maybe we weren't thinking of. So we're very proud of these 2 new programs. They have they're designed with input from industry, again, both public and private, and we feel that's very important because we are teaching the next generation, and that's kind of what I feel my role is. I'm passing on my lessons learned and what I've done. I'm getting old, so I'm not going to be out there, but I want to pass on my lessons learned and my experiences to the next generation. So hopefully they can learn from that and won't make some of the same mistakes I have. We also have the certificate programs, which are great for people who may not have a background in either Homeland Security, Emergency Management, or Security Studies. We have a Homeland Security post-baccalaureate. So if you have a bachelor's in some other field and want to get acquainted with what Homeland Security is, we have that. And then we also have graduate certificates in a variety of different fields, including security management, emergency management, and the sport and event security and event management, which is a whole new field that's becoming very popular in the United States. So I think I've talked enough here. Dr. Cleveland, do you have anything to add?
Thanks, Dr. Wallace. I also wanted to add that not only are we training the next generation, but we are also training the next leaders. So we focus on in our master's program with certain courses, one in leadership, one in emergency management administration, in training our students how to be very work ready, whether they're looking at promoting up into a leadership role or their eventual idea is to enter leadership either at the state public sector or federal public sector or in the private sector. There's a lot of opportunities available, especially emergency management and Homeland Security, both in the public and private sectors.
Nina, could you talk a little bit more about the kind of blending between the Homeland Security and the emergency management, that overlap and those sort of differences between those programs? Because I think some of the people who are joining us today might not understand that interaction and those differences once you get into those career tracks.
Certainly. Emergency management is about preparedness, mitigation, and response of disaster. So that can be natural disaster, that can be man-made, bioterrorism, or other types of terroristic events. And that's kind of the overlap with Homeland Security. As, you know, most emergency managers up until recently have only had, you know, one choice if they wanted to get more education towards their career, and that was Homeland Security. But what Dr. Wallace did was he sussed out that emergency management side and made them separate. So someone who truly wanted to do the Homeland Security side, which he can talk more pointedly about than I can, or if they wanted to do that more emergency management side, he tailored and we developed the curriculum so that they could focus on either one of those areas. So there is definite overlap, but in that emergency management side, you are really looking at positions in public, local, state, and federal level emergency management, EMA, LEMA, or GOSEP here in Louisiana, GEMA in Georgia, and then FEMA or CDC if you're interested in the health and medical side. As well as, on the private sector side, you're looking at hospitals, their emergency managers, you're looking at, and here's another overlap with security management, in the private sector, looking at entities like Shell Oil or even grocery store chains like Rouse's. They are all developing, if they have not already, security management or emergency management positions. Dr. Wallace, you want to talk a little bit more about the Homeland Security side?
Yeah, so you hit on some things, and we've designed these programs so Homeland Security is a big, I like to tell students it's a big beast. It includes a lot of different parts, a lot of different agencies. For those of you who may not be aware, the Department of Homeland Security was started after 9/11 to protect the United States against terrorism. It's since grown in its mission to kind of protect against disasters, whether they're being man-made or natural occurring. So whether you take Homeland Security, whether you go down that track, or security management or emergency management, you're going to have a basic understanding of the basics of each field. So if you're Homeland Security, you're going to get some emergency management, because it's vital that you understand what emergency management is and how it fits into the overall big beast that Homeland Security is, and vice versa. If you're an emergency manager, you need to understand what the possible threat is. So we offer courses in terrorism and things like that, so you kind of understand, okay, this is the threat, and when you hear this is what this means. So while there are separate fields, and again, Dr. Cleveland kind of touched on this, there is also a public and a private side to this. So a lot of these things, a lot of these skills are valued in the private industry. Sometimes people only think of Homeland Security or emergency management in the public field, but every company is worried about industrial theft. They're worried about industrial espionage. They're worried about emergency management. They're worried about physical security. So a lot of these things that we teach can be applied in different fields, but you have to have kind of a basic understanding of the major parts. So intelligence, terrorism, emergency management, and kind of health and medical issues in emergency management are kind of our basics that everyone will get while they're going through these programs.
Thank you, Mike. One of the unique features that I think that we have in Homeland Security Studies program is that you have the 4+1 program. Would you be able to talk a little bit more about that and about the master's level degrees?
Yeah, this is the 4+1 program is pretty new. We just had this approved by our council, I think in the fall or spring semester. So what this allows students, if they're in the undergrad program before their senior year, they can apply to the graduate program and start taking courses at the graduate level that will apply after they graduate to get a master's, hopefully in 5 total years. So 1 extra year after your undergrad, you'll get not only your bachelor's, but your master's in Homeland Security Studies. So we're pretty excited about this. You have, again, you will take graduate level courses as an undergrad. That's, for some students, that's a big goal for them. And you will be very well positioned by the time you get out for your investment in this 5 years to be ahead of the game in this field. And then the master's, again, the master's in Homeland Security Studies, it's been our great degree program that we're very proud of. We have some outstanding faculty that teach in this program. That's kind of the great thing about all these programs. Every instructor that you're going to have either currently works in the field that they teach, or they have decades of experience in it. So, for example, I was an intelligence officer. I did counterterrorism, counterproliferation. Dr. Cleveland has done emergency management, emergency preparedness, response, public health. So we're just 2 examples. So we have other instructors. We have senior retired DEA agents. We have military professionals. We have firefighters. We have just a lot of experience. And the other good thing about this program is that we have a lot of students who are already in the field. So not only do you learn from the instructors themselves, but you also learn from your classmates. Everyone who's in this program has something to contribute. Whether you don't think you do, you do. You have life experience. And I guarantee if you live down here in Louisiana and you were here last week, you can talk about the rainstorms we had and how that affected you, and how things need to change in certain areas. Getting back to the MPS and Homeland Security, it's made up of 10 courses. You have 4 core courses, which are the ones I mentioned briefly. You have intelligence, terrorism, emergency management, health and medical, and emergency management. Those are the basic building blocks. And then from there, you are able to take courses that kind of fit what you're looking to do. If you're looking to do more intelligence, you have advanced intelligence courses you can take. Terrorism, same thing. We have courses in critical infrastructure, cyber, and we also have a cyber concentration. To graduate, you do need a 3.0. To actually get admitted into the program, you have to have a 3.0. We do not require GRE scores, but as I tell applicants, the fact we don't have GRE scores does not mean that this program should be taken lightly. It's a very writing intense, critical thinking type of program. We designed it that way because students needed to develop those critical thinking skills, especially in these fields. And writing is vital. The ability to express yourself and to take a lot of information and to break it down into what needs to be known will serve you well in whatever career you decide to do. But in this field, it's vital. And you see below on the slide here, the graduates, we have graduates who have been accepted into federal service, everything from FBI agents to analysts. We just had one hired by the Secret Service to be an agent. I mentioned before we have graduates who are in state level agencies, both here in Louisiana and Mississippi, but also throughout the United States, up in the Northeast, out in the Northwest, and then locally. We have a lot of students who are local or like New Orleans. They come here and stay. And so we have a pretty good network here in the Gulf Coast. So I think, again, and on security management, as I mentioned earlier, I think the first slide, this is a very new master's degree for us. This was a direct response to talking to industry here in Louisiana. Louisiana has a lot of oil and gas, chemical, shipping, things like that. And the feedback we were getting is that there is not a lot of options for people who are interested in private industry doing security and emergency management. So this is why we created this. Program's a little different from Homeland Security. Instead of 10 courses, it's 11. It's more prescriptive, so we have a path that you go through. So it's 9 courses. You have the opportunity of one elective, and then we have a capstone to kind of bring everything together. Again, to get into the program, you need a 3.0 undergrad GPA, and then to graduate from the program, you also need a 3.0. And you see some of the positions here. If I can just say hospitals, that this is I guess the field of the future, because hospitals run the gamut. They have to be worried from everything from emergency management to terrorism to security management, cyber. You think about a group that holds ransom patients' records. That the hospital can't operate. So hospitals are kind of the ground zero for this degree. You can see some of the others, but this is a growing field. And then the post-baccalaureate, this is for people who may have a degree in let's say another field, but they want to get smart on what Homeland Security and emergency management is. These are undergrad courses. These are the core courses from an undergraduate degree that a person can take. And it's 8 courses, and there's 7 courses and then a practicum. And once you complete that, you have a post-baccalaureate and a really good foundation to enter Homeland Security, intelligence, security, and emergency management. And then graduate certificates, I think I mentioned these before. We have graduate certificates both on security management and emergency management. There are 2 degrees. There's kind of an intro degree and then an advanced degree. These are made up of 4 courses each, so a total of 12 hours. And so this is for that student who may not want to commit to a full master's right now. They may want to kind of test the waters and see if this is a field that they are interested in or want to get involved with. But in this day and age, certificates are becoming more popular with employers. It shows that you can do graduate work, and it also shows that you can master the advanced, topics in addition to a bachelor's degree.
Dr. Wallace, thank you so much for sharing about that with us. I think you hit on a really important topic there that I want to make sure we're stressing to our viewers today, which is the stackable nature of those certificates. Being able to do the graduate level work without necessarily committing to a full grad level program is a really great way for people who are starting their educational journey again, or maybe continuing it and are going to be in the workforce. It's a great way for them to be able to take it at their own pacing, but also not have to make that full commitment. You have a way where you can show to your employer that you have that content knowledge, you have those skills without that longer term commitment of a graduate level program. Dr. Cleveland, is there anything else that you wanted to share about the emergency management programs and some of the unique interactions of the program and degrees?
Just to say that, the emergency management program also has the stackable certificates. So this is, across the board. I think Dr. Wallace did a really good job, and I don't really have much to add.
Thank you, Dr. Cleveland. So I wanted to move now into talking more about our student support and services. I think this is one of the pieces that is the most interesting to me about being here at SOPA. Through my own educational journey, I often had difficulty accessing my advisors and those support services. I went to a very large state school where you would have weeks or even, several days where you would be waiting to meet with someone because of that rush of students wanting to meet with them or a lack of bandwidth. Whereas here, what I've found is that our academic advisors make themselves available in ways that you may not see at every university. So one of that is they have multiple modes of communication with you. So if you're someone where you're outside of the New Orleans region, but still want to be able to access your advisor, you've got the phone, you've got the Zoom teleconferencing, which is what you're watching now on, and then also through email and that in person. So that's 4 different ways that you've got that you can interact with your academic advisor. So even if you're someone where, you're in the region and don't want to have that face-to-face because you're working or you don't have that time ability, you can still meet with them many other ways. And then if you're somewhere where you're outside of the region and want that face-to-face, the Zoom teleconferencing app is just like being there with them and going through those pieces like your degree audit or getting your transcript reviewed. And so you really do have a lot of access, and the ability to schedule your own appointments through the scheduling tool is very helpful as well. So when you get to that graduate level and you're dealing more with the program directors like Dr. Wallace and Dr. Cleveland, I find that their availability is worlds beyond what I had in my own master's program. They're very approachable people, as you've seen so far, with a lot of content knowledge who really want to see their students succeed. Another way that we help to support our students is through our credits for prior learning. We're going to go over that in a little bit more depth here in a moment, but that's a way to really accelerate your educational journey by taking some of your experiences through work, through volunteering, through those past experiences on your journey of life, and being able to get credits out of those. Looping back around, talking more about our faculty and our staff, as Dr. Wallace and Dr. Cleveland have shown you so far, they have really incredible content knowledge, both as professionals within the field and then as an educator. And it's a really rare interaction that you get there where you have that industry experience, whether it's through the military, through private roles, and then you have that academic experience to kind of act as a, that secondary support there, where you're able to get the private world, the professional world, the academic world all blended there into your education. So if you're someone where you're not sure which pathway is going to be best for you, you have the benefit of their experience as well as all of our other faculty. So we have a lot of adjunct faculty who work in the field now. They teach as part of either desire for service and continuing education, and then they also work in the role. So you have people who can tell you what it's really like to be out there working in Homeland Security, be working in emergency management. And then the last couple of pieces I think are also very important as well, which is our career advising. Miss Cynthia Washington is our career advisor over here. So one of the things that's important for us is making sure that all of our students take the time to meet with Miss Washington. whether it's at the start of your journey where you're trying to get your resume improved and figure out what sort of work opportunities there are for you to reach your end goal, or whether it's when you're about to leave Tulane and you're looking at what's my next step? How can I find an employer that's going to recognize the skills and the degree that I've spent this time working on, and how can I jump in and apply that right away? So Cynthia uses those connections that are part of our network of Tulane alumni, whether it's the people who've actually attended Tulane and are still within the region or within the United States, or whether it's those people who know and understand Tulane's commitment and vision and see that Tulane SOPA has put a lot of great, high quality professionals out into the world. And so you see our graduates out there making substantive impact on their field and on the region. So if you're in the Gulf Coast, you're probably interacting with some of our graduates either at that professional level or even at the social level. So to talk a little bit more about those logistical pieces, the application process is actually really quick. It's not something where you need to come into our office, fill out a paper application. You can go to sopa.tulane.edu, so that's sopa.tulane.edu, and you'll start an application form on there. There's a bright green apply button there at the top. So when you log in, you'll create an account, and then typically you'll have an admission fee of $40 for undergraduate or $50 for graduate. But because you joined us today, gave us a little bit of your lunchtime, we're going to waive that fee. So all the fee waiver is here in the Zoom chat towards the end of our session. And then you can also reach out to me to make sure that you get that applied. And then from there, all you'll have to do, fill out that information about you. So that demographic information, that academic history, maybe answering some of those questions about how you see yourself succeeding in the program. And then you'll provide your government issued ID and your transcripts. So for the transcript piece, you can either send those to us physically. So that would be an unopened hard copy transcript, either issued by the university to us or issued to you and still sealed and stamped. And you can provide that to us physically at 800 East Commerce Road, Suite 100 in Harahan, Louisiana. Or you can send it digitally. Digitally is always going to be preferred because it's going to accelerate how quickly we can get you into that review process. So SOPA records at tulane.edu is going to be the primary place where you want to send those digital records. And then from there, if you have unofficial transcripts that you maybe got through your student portal, you can upload those during the application, and that allows us to do conditional reviews. So we can tell you whether or not you're getting into the program, start to figure out what your next steps are while we're waiting on those transcripts to come either in the mail or through email. So don't let those unofficial transcripts hold you up. You still got a little bit of time if you're trying to get in for the fall session. So for graduate, you've got a little under 2 weeks now with that August 1st deadline. So with an August 1st deadline, you want to have a complete application submitted by that point. So what that means is at the graduate level, you're going to be doing a personal statement. In this specific program, you're looking at more of an essay style to where you're talking about some of the key pieces of what really contributes to the program. So talking about like what are the threats that you see here. And then that transcript piece, so either providing us with those unofficial transcripts by August 1st or those final transcripts by August 1st so that you're ready for class start in the next few weeks after. And then with the undergraduate, you're looking at an August 15th date. The undergraduate is a little bit later because there's going to be less pieces involved in that process. The graduate review process is pretty involved. It takes a bit of time. You may have to actually set up a time where you're meeting with Dr. Wallace or Dr. Cleveland so they can interview you about the program, make sure you understand the requirements and the rigor. And with the undergraduate, it's just going to be that application process. So providing us transcripts, providing us all of those necessary pieces. Spring's deadlines, you have graduate is set to December 15th and undergraduate January 1st. And then for summer, if you need a little bit more time to get ready or you're finishing out another program, you've got graduate deadline of May 1st and undergraduate deadline of May 15th. So you've still got time for all of these programs. So if fall's a little bit too close for you, then start looking at those spring and summer deadlines. So another important logistical piece is tuition and financial aid. For fall 2019 and spring 2020, you've got an undergraduate rate of $474 a credit hour, and then a graduate rate of $1039 a credit hour. These are pretty comparable to what you're seeing in the region for other similar schools. So Tulane is one of those schools where you have a bit of cachet attached to the name because we're well known based upon our history and also the quality of professionals that we put out into the field. So you're walking out with that Tulane degree with no commas, no colons, nothing that says that you're part of a sub-school. It just says Tulane University. And so you immediately have some value from that, where if you're in the New Orleans region, you're able to show that you are that you're a graduate of a high quality program with name recognition. And some of the ways that you can also help to offset your costs while you're working on that degree are through financial aid or through some of these other forms of aid. So with financial aid, you do qualify for all the typical government aid. So what you would do when you do a FAFSA, you would qualify for any of that through SOPA, depending on your financial situation. And then you also have things like access to federal grants, federal loans. And then one other really important piece is that we offer discounts for active duty military, veterans, teachers, and Orleans and Jefferson Parish employees. So that's a 20%.
If I could jump in there. And active duty also encompasses National Guard and active reservists and things like that. So for our military people who may be joining us, it's kind of all encompassing there.
Thank you for calling that out, Mike. That is a really important distinction. So for all of our service members, whether or not you're a reservist, active duty, veteran, you're going to have access to those discounts. And one other really, really important piece if you're a service member, particularly if you're a retired service member, you separated from service, is looking at those yellow ribbon scholarships. So our school currently offers 30 plus yellow ribbon scholarships. This is a relatively recent offering for us, so there's still many opportunities to claim these. And what these help with is offsetting that difference between cost of tuition and the GI Bill. So if you're someone where you're using your educational benefits and then also qualify for that yellow ribbon scholarship, you're looking at basically no out-of-pocket cost. That yellow ribbon scholarship will be able to help out with that shortfall. And then with your educational benefits, things like paying for your books or any service fees, you're going to be able to take care of all of that with minimal out-of-pocket cost. And that's huge, especially if you're going into these undergraduate and graduate programs where you're looking at getting employment right after graduation. So with the opportunities for growth in the Homeland Security studies and emergency management fields, you've got an opportunity to come in, get your school basically paid for because of the service that you gave, and then be able to walk out with a degree that has pretty immediate utility. And I think that's really awesome for our students, is seeing that they're able to really accelerate their time here and jump in and just really take hold. And one of the ways that I think we really accelerate for our students is credits for prior learning. So one really important piece about the credits for prior learning, you can reduce your tuition cost. That's a bottom line for many of our students. They want to know, what's the total out-of-pocket cost going to be? How much am I going to spend on my educational journey? And if you're someone where you've worked in the military, you've worked in the field that you're studying in, you've done extensive community service, you have other work experience, you have certifications, those are the pieces that you would be able to use to claim this credit for prior learning. So what you do is you take a portfolio class where you pay $1,000 and you get 3 credits out of that class. And at the undergraduate level, you can take home up to 24 credits. So what that allows you to do is, if you're a typical full-time student where you're doing 12 credit hours a semester, that's 2 semesters you've taken care of. You've rapidly accelerated your time to completion. And if you're a graduate student, up to 6 credits can be taken home from that portfolio assessment. So that's a full semester pretty much right there. So in terms of your out-of-pocket cost, you've already reduced it. And you've also increased your speed in terms of your time to completion. So that's a really great way, if you're a working adult, if you're someone where you might have a limited time to get this done in, where you can really take hold of it and get moving. So this covers the majority of the content that we were talking through today. But one last thing is we want to make sure we have a Q&A. So one of the questions that we received so far was, someone was asking, does the graduate essay need to be in any particular format, such as APA, if it's being submitted in a Word or PDF form? Mike and Nina, would you be able to speak to that, about if you have a preferred format, since this is more of a research style essay?
APA is fine to use. A lot of professors here at Tulane use MLA, but whatever you're used to, You know, being a recent graduate of a doctorate program, I know how hard it is to change formats. So whatever the student is comfortable with is fine with me. Dr. Cleveland may have a different view, but for me, I'm more interested in construction of the actual essay. I want to be able to see that the person's making a clear argument about what they feel or what they believe in. You know, what is the biggest threat they see to Homeland Security or the United States or wherever. That's what I'm more interested in.
I feel basically the same way. You know, if I like to see if you are using someone else's content that you do cite and you are mindful of that. However, what I really want to see is and get a good feel for is if you're going to be a good fit, and if you know, at this moment in time, you know, would you be able to succeed and finish through the program? Because ultimately that's what I want to see happen. I want to see you come in and be able to finish this program and graduate. And you know, it always is helpful to know what your goals are for yourself, so I can, you know, a lot of, you know, what you will get out of this program is connections with people in the field. So we can help you get those connections, and your instructors can help you get those connections. So seeing in your essay where you want to head in your career path is helpful, and for us to be able to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Cleveland. Thank you, Dr. Wallace. So really to sort of synthesize what they're both saying is this is really a supplement that allows us to understand where you're at in terms of your understanding of the field and your career aspirations, but also as a writing sample. So it's a good way for us to understand if you're ready for the rigors of a graduate level program. So really if you have a style that you prefer, stick to it, but definitely present something that's going to be in a format to where your citations are clear and consistent. So it looks like we don't have any other questions that are here right now. So I just wanted to give a brief recap of what we talked through and a couple of these big highlights of the program. So one, the programs are available multimodal, so you can do online, on-campus blending. The bachelor's degrees are not yet fully online, so you would have on-campus portions. Certificate programs and graduate level programs, you should be able to complete them online only. And then with those, the graduate level certificates are stackable. So it's a way for you to work towards your master's degree without taking on everything at once. So the big themes to think about here are the flexibility of the program in terms of instruction delivery, the flexibility of the program in terms of the different pathways within it that you can take for your career. So going either private, public, government, you know, any of those different options. And then the other piece is job growth. You're looking at a career that has a lot of great opportunities for job growth in a region where you can have a substantive impact. I'm sure for those of you that are outside of the region, you know about some of the issues that New Orleans has relating to the weather, relating to the petroleum industry, and all of these various facets of what life is like down here in South Louisiana. So for those of you that are here, you already are seeing that daily. You see all of the work going into the petroleum industry. You see all of the government and military interaction here. And you see that there's an opportunity for you to really be able to take your passion and your interest and apply it to something within your world. Dr. Wallace, Dr. Cleveland, are there any last topics you want to talk through, or anything that you want to share as a final thought with our attendees?
No, if anyone does have any questions, they can feel free to reach out to either myself or Dr. Cleveland. We love to talk, and you probably have noticed, and we're not shy about sharing our opinions on things. But personally, I'm very proud of this program, and it's not because of myself, it's because of the instructors, the faculty we have, and the students. And if you do decide to join our program, we are more than excited to have you in the program, and we think that you'll get a lot out of it.
I agree with Dr. Wallace. We are always here and available to answer any questions that you may have, or if you just want to bounce some ideas about, what you're thinking about your career path, we are always available.
Thank you both so much for your time and for your content knowledge. I think the people who attended with us today really were able to get a great demonstration of the sort of instruction that they're going to be getting and the sort of program they're going to be getting access to. So once again, thank you everyone who attended with us on your lunch break or gave us an hour of your day. If you have any questions after this, please contact me, Chris Lloyd, at clloyd3@tulane.edu, or you can call me at 504-865-5333, and I can help connect you with either Dr. Wallace, Dr. Cleveland, and I can also make sure that we're able to get you started on that application process. Thanks, everyone.